Hello everybody, my name is KingStix, and in this Nunu jungle commentary guide, I'm going to be showing you how to carry your team and have a high impact in your games. Nunu is by far the strongest tank jungler right now in solo queue. I highly recommend him for any of you who are looking for an easy pickup jungler and really want to learn the role. In this video, we're going to be doing a Nunu power clear jungle route. To do this, you're going to want to start on your red buff starting Q and don't use your smite. Next up from red buff, you're going to go straight into your golems using your W for maximum speed and maximum damage. You do not do your Krugs if you are doing a power ganking route. This is only for power clearing. Against the enemies, they have an 𝐒𝐂𝐈 and a Vladimir. Those are both two very difficult lanes for Nunu to gank since Vladimir can blood pool and 𝐒𝐂𝐈 has a dash and some insane invisibility. In this game, since we scale quite a bit harder, I do plan on building myself up a lead, and I don't really want to try to match an early game jungler like 𝐿𝐼 in ganks. After golems, use your W from golem camp to raptor camp to maximize your clear speed and damage. Unlike your normal tank jungler, you should be relatively full HP after you're done these camps, which is by far Nunu's biggest advantage he has over other tank junglers is he can remain high HP in the jungle in his initial clear. After raptor camp, you're going to want to W your way to your wolf camp. Make sure to get more towards the mid lane when you start this, that way you can make it all the way to the wolf camp. Once again, this maximizes your clear speed and damage on the camp. After you finish your blue buff, you're gonna want to skip your Gromp and move on to Scuttle Crab and ganking. Gromp's value is relatively low and does a lot of damage. It's best to go and take the Scuttle Crab for the level 4, and you can start setting up ganks this way as well by using the Scuttle Crab speed. Here I was looking to take 𝐿𝐼's Raptors, instead I see him mid, so I'm gonna try to come over here and help out my Tryndamere. Try to use your W on Nunu before the enemies can see you, that way you can get the surprise effect so they can't dodge it before you build up speed. I end up prioritizing 𝐿𝐼 and I chase after him a little bit foolishly. I should have just let him go after he blew his flash since all of my abilities were down. I'm trying to bait 𝐿𝐼 to go in on me, and then I try to knock him out of the air with my W, but instead Vlad walks in the way. Luckily I had my pinky tight on my Q, so whenever 𝐿𝐼 made contact, I bit him and got heaps of HP. Ideally, when ganking on Nunu, use the Scuttle Crab speed up as you start your W to go hella fast. In this case, 𝐒𝐂𝐈 is just really hard to gank because of her invisibility, and the gank is over since I'm low on HP. On your first back, you want to try to get Balmy Cinder and Boots. Just try to get as much jungle items as possible and boots if you can. When moving on to your golem camp from base, try to use it back near your turret. That way you can maximize your speed, damage, and efficiency. You should always be thinking about how you can use your W from a distance to either start a gank or start another camp. Right as I run into my Raptors here, I see my mid laner is getting ganked. The issue is my W is down, so there's no way I can make it there in time, so I just stay on my camp and finish it. If your W is down on Nunu and you have to travel a distance in a short amount of time, it's just not going to happen, particularly when you don't have your dead man's plate. I end up moving into 𝐿𝐼's jungle since I have nothing to really take right now anyways. I'm a higher level than him. The thing is, Nunu is really bad at soloing enemy champions because of his low damage. I should have just held on to my ultimate, and that's a really common mistake that you can make on Nunu, is going for solos rather than playing around objectives and your teammates. Try to avoid this at all costs. When ganking laners, try to back up from the spot, that way you can build up some speed. Here I start all the way back towards the Baron wall, that way whenever Vladimir sees me, I'll be moving at maximum speed, which makes it much easier to land my snowball. After landing my W, I immediately start pounding him with ease, and then back off to give my Tryndamere the kill. Unfortunately, Blitzcrank came out of nowhere, and just by the skin of his teeth, saved Vladimir's life. I'm showing you this clip to really solidify the idea that on Nunu, do not gank 𝐒𝐂𝐈, it is not worth it. She has way too many dashes and invisibility. Even if you're in a great position and she doesn't have wards, the odds of you killing her are so slim unless she's already blown all of her abilities. Instead, focus on lanes that are low mobility and have no real way to get away from your W. Nunu has insane lockdown CC. If you do this, you will succeed. Try to get your Cinderhulk before you get tier 2 boots on Nunu. Tankiness is key, and you can do plenty of turret dives with your Aftershock and W. Whenever I'm going to gank bot lane, if it isn't already set up, what I like to do is W from my turret all the way into my golem camp to maximize my clear efficiency, and then while I'm taking golems, I try to keep an eye on the enemy bot lane and see if they become gankable. In this case, they're in the middle of the lane. It's a great spot, and I'm waiting for my W to come off of cooldown anyway, so I'm making really good use of my resources. And if the enemy bot lane wasn't gankable, I can move on the rest of my camps and path towards other lanes. Like we mentioned, you want to start your W from a distance when ganking, so I start it from behind the tri-brush, curve it all the way around the corner. By the time they see me, I'm going race car fast. I get on the Blitzcrank, hit him with my E, and then I was going to hit Jinx with my E and snare her, but he ended up pulling me off. It's okay though, because Tryndamere came in with a really good collapse. On Nunu, it's important you stay on people with your E. That way you can land the snare, which is a really good setup for your ultimate. Here I flashed just a half a second too late on the Vladimir, and my snare expires on my E, which is why he actually ends up living, and then I have to pull off. When escaping on Nunu, your W is a really good tool most of the time, especially when slows are involved, since it cleanses you of slows and makes you immune to slows. Here I W away, 𝐒𝐂𝐈 hits me with a slow, and I'm just immune because I can't be slowed. So I get myself out of that really bad situation. Your E snare on Nunu is especially important because it sets up your ultimate to do massive damage and CC. Here I E 𝐿𝐿, and then immediately after Eing him, I E the Vladimir. That way I can get off a double snare. But what ends up happening is I just get the snare on the 𝐿𝐿 because of the Vladimir blood pool, and then Blitzcrank pulls me off. So overall successful. I W the Blitzcrank point blank. If you need a quick bit of CC, using your W at point blank range is a great tool. Just make sure you have your cursor right on top of the enemy when you do it. Otherwise, you're going to put it in the wrong direction and you're going to look really goofy doing that. When it comes to taking objectives on Nunu, yes, his Q is amazing for securing objectives, but if you don't have any lane prio, it's not necessarily a good idea. It's usually best to go for things like dragons once you get a pick on the enemy team to guarantee yourself that objective. If I were to take this while all the enemies are alive, and then if someone showed up 1v1, I wouldn't be able to handle them, or if someone on my team got picked and then they pushed me off dragon, that would suck. In general, when you're playing jungle, even if you're Nunu, try to get objectives like dragon, herald, and baron when you have some form of lane priority, or if you just got a kill on the enemies. Off of killing 𝐿𝐿, Vladimir, and Blitzcrank, we secured ourselves a flame drake and herald, 2 massive objectives off of one single fight. On Nunu, your biggest power spikes is when you hit your Cinder Hulk, when you get your Dead Man's Plate, and whenever you get your Gargoyle Stone Plate. Those are your 3 biggest power spikes, and you want to try to utilize these to the best of your ability. Right when you get these items, don't just go back to perma farming, try to look for opportunities to gank. In this clip, I have my Dead Man's Plate, so I can go really fast. I try to look for a pick, but it's just not going to happen. Our team isn't really grouped. It's not the end of the world though. I'm giving Tryndamere more pressure to split push. In the late game on Nunu, it's the same thing with your snowball. You want to start where the enemies can't see you. That way, once you get on top of them, it'll be going the maximum speed. In this case, it's Vladimir, and he just barely got out of that situation. They're now re-engaging. I don't really want to go in though until I have my snowball. That way I can get my maximum pressure and get off some insane damage and CC. I try to run it in, but Blitzcrank kind of gets in the way. I CC him. Next, I want to get dots on him and 𝐒𝐂𝐈 with my E. After I use my E, I start up my ultimate. Blitzcrank does a great job of canceling it though. Overall, my team did win this fight for me. I did play my part, but I didn't do anything spectacular. Once again, after you get a pick or you get massive priority, this is when you want to take objectives like Dragon or Baron. Since we're already on this side of the map and 2 enemies are still alive and Teemo died, Dragon is the safer choice. If we were already on the left side of the map, then we would have gone for Baron instead. In the late game, if you can clear vision, it's a really powerful tool on Baron because the enemies will assume you're starting it. At this point, they'll all collectively come to it, and you can start up your W and get a really juicy pick engage. In this case, Tryndamere and Ashe were the ones doing the engaging, and I didn't quite curve my snowball. That's okay though. I hold the Blitzcrank in place with my slow and threaten the snare on Jinx if she stayed. Now that we have a couple of kills and we're on the correct side of the map to do Baron, we can easily pull off and do Baron after we feel satisfied with this fight. Nunu has massive pick potential. It can easily shut down split pushers in the late game as long as you have a teammate following you. If you see someone on the enemy team split pushing, ping it out, start up your snowball, and they shouldn't be able to escape. 𝐒𝐂𝐈 is one of the few exceptions because she has so many dashes and invisibility, but in general, if you can get to them on Nunu, they shouldn't be able to escape if you have at least one teammate behind you. Now that 𝐒𝐂𝐈 is dead, my teammates are pushing up with the minion wave. Our minions aren't quite there yet, so I feel comfortable taking a buff while we wait. And from this point, I am going to start up my snowball to get some maximum speed for an engage. I started from the blue buff camp, turn the corner, and then I go immediately for the Jinx. 𝐿𝐿 gets in the way, I CC him. I land my E on both the Jinx and Blitzcrank for a double snare. I then ultimate and set up a really easy fight for my team. Having strong engages on Nunu when your team is behind you makes it really easy on your backline and sets up for some easy wins. If you guys are interested on taking your Nunu to the next level, make sure you check out GameLeap. They have heaps of challenger guides from many different creators for League of Legends. They also service Overwatch and Dota as well at no extra cost. If you're not sure GameLeap is for you, don't worry. They have free samples for you to try out and figure out if it's something you're interested in. And if you are interested but don't want to get into a massive commitment, you can start out with just a 1-month subscription. Don't forget to use the GameLeap link I have down in the description and pinned comment below for an automatic discount, and you'll also help support the channel that way as well.
My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.